Why are we here, Gunjan?
So we're trying a new format. We're trying to share like on a more personal level. And John has come up with this idea actually for this video. So this is all his doing. We have fancy cameras, we have fancy setup, and all we're trying to do is
A fancy wife? Kind of my thoughts are life as a foreigner in a foreign country.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. And I'm sure a lot of people might be curious what that might be like.
Uh-huh.
So I've kind of prepared a series of questions that I can ask Gunjan.
Yeah.
And she can explain what it's like, what have been the challenges, if this is something that you're looking to go through. This would all be valuable. And as this is part of our podcast, so it'll also be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, all over the places. All the places.
Okay. So what questions do you have for me, John?
So today I want to talk about what were the challenges of marrying a foreigner.
Marrying or dating? Where do you want me to start with?
Let's start with dating. Tell our story, please.
The whole story?
Give us the 5-minute story.
The 5-minute story. We met on Bumble when I wasn't looking, thankfully, because if I was looking, then he would have not fit into that idea because he was from US and Pune, and I never wanted a long distance relationship, or I really never wanted to leave Mumbai. So of course it all started when I wasn't looking and I was seeing where it would go. So we met on a dating app, Bumble. We spoke for 3-4 months before he came back to India. We had our first date. There were chemistry, butterflies. Right after our first date, the business that he was in India for did not work out, so he had to go back. And we didn't know if he'll ever come back or what the future plan is going to be like. So we were again in a long distance for 6 months. And at that point in time, we were like, oh, we've only met each other like twice or thrice. Should we hold on? Should we let each other go? But I think I felt like we should wait for each other. So I said, I'll wait. You figure out what you want to do. It wasn't easy. We waited. He came back. Yeah. And then we just dated for like 3.5 years. And slowly I had to introduce him to my parents, which was also a big challenge because one side, my mom was like fainting and, like having this big reaction to me not getting married. And she's like, oh my God, my daughter is never going to be married. And on the other hand, she was also worried that if I've started dating this guy, is my dad going to be okay with it? So we had to do Mom and I had to do a lot of groundwork. First, I had to do it with her to ease her into this relationship. Then mom was like, dad is still looking for these rishtas for you, these guys for you. So you should tell him. And around 1.5 year mark, I think I spoke to dad about it, and he was like, okay, so is it engagement next? And I was like, no, it's still dating. We're not jumping to that. I also came to US, and I think that was one of my a important landmark for me, because I didn't want to go ahead in the relationship or take it to the next level until I knew what your family and friends look like. Because
was this in 2019 or 2020?
I think 2019.
Okay, because COVID was 2020, right?
Yes. So I came in September 2019 for 5 weeks to meet your family and friends.
2 weeks.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks is when I came for.
Trip number one.
There have been only 2 trips.
Yellowstone, Los Angeles, Science National Park.
He was very nice. He took me everywhere. We saw so many states. So it was fun. And at that point in time, I was like, yeah, I think we're ready. If not now, then what? And on the other end, my mom was like, oh, now you're in US to meet your boyfriend. You've met his family. Are they giving you kadas? Are they giving you gold bangles? And is it? And I was like...
On the first trip, right?
Yeah.
For those who are not Indian, that would basically mean it would be like an engagement, right?
It would be an engagement. It would be like parents sharing something saying, hey, we really like you and we want to go ahead with you. And we don't want you looking for anything else. So just formalizing the engagement. So she's like, is she doing something like that? And I was like, his parents are never going to do that. So I think our differences started from very early on, and expectations of what the relationship is going to look like. And it wasn't anything Indian. So I came back after that trip, and I also felt very, I just didn't know where we were, because I was like, oh, this feels perfect. I think I'm ready.
What did you expect to have happen on that trip? My guess is that you expected a proposal.
You would propose, but you didn't. And your parents didn't, broach the subject. And I later found out that your parents were not even expecting that we were seriously dating, and there was other dramas.
We were.
Yeah, but I have heard different stories now. So, I left being very confused about, I totally knew that you meant no harm and you definitely were in, but I didn't know
From my perspective, I expected, hey, Gunjan's going to come 2 or 3 times,
2 or 3 times.
get to know the family.
Yeah,
But
as an
like, if
Indian girl to travel all the way to America to stay with his family or meet his family 2 to 3 times, that's a lot of asking.
I guess,
Yeah, but like in my culture, I was just like, that's not gonna happen. Like I did one and I made my parents okay with that one trip because I
which
said,
was also like a no-no for
which
me.
was a huge no-no. But I was like, no, I have to do this because if I make a wrong decision then and you're trusting me, then I'm not getting anywhere. But they were like, where will you stay? Will you stay with him? I was like, I will stay with his family. Don't you worry. Everything's gonna be fine. So I think even that was like a huge step for my Indian conservative family to be like, oh, this American boy, and she has to go all the way to even figure out to keep dating or not. And and even I was confused in the relationship, and I was like, why is he not proposing already? I like his family, he likes mine, and he's already met my family. So he didn't, but I think you were also going through your work issues and you really wanted to put more time in, and you didn't feel like you could commit to a wedding or a marriage as yet. I got a little bit of it. I felt like that, yeah, maybe, but I think I just didn't know how long and what is the next trajectory in your head. So it was bumpy. But I knew, and we had a lot of conversations about it, and every time you would say it's your work. And I wanted to know from a perspective of how to plan my life. Like, if your company is going to be in Pune and you're going to be here, then should I start thinking about moving to Pune, or will we do Mumbai and Pune, or will we do US and... But like none of those answers I ever received because he didn't have the clarity himself.
I feel like also the year before you came to the US the first time, there was a lot of stress because I don't think I was in tune enough. I just thought I wasn't sure. I just felt like you were going through a depressed stage. What?
When I came to US?
No, you came. But like looking at it now, I realized, oh, here's a woman who is fully committed,
Yeah.
is wondering when the commitment's going to happen,
Yeah.
and feels like she can't go to the next stage in her life until she knows the answer. So I didn't realize it was my fault.
It was. So I was very confused, and I had like so much of Indian family pressure on me. So
I'm going to interject one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that personal things
Yeah.
stay personal and work things stay work. So another thing from context is I didn't have friends who were Indian who could say, hey, John, here are the things you're not picking up.
Yeah.
Here are the cultural differences. Here are the expectations.
Yeah.
This is here are the things you should be anticipating, or here are the things that you're doing that are going to cause Gunjan as an Indian woman a lot of stress.
Right. For him, like whatever I was navigating with my family and culturally, he was like, yeah, sure. What's like the big deal? And I had to at multiple times like come back and be like, this is not normal. I'm like really pushing my parents here. But I felt like a sense of that you're so far away from this to happen, like a sense of that he's a foreigner. There's so much can go wrong and is going to go wrong that I was also like, it's fine if it has to happen. I think that is one thing that made a relationship happen. And I was like, this is so far off. If it has to happen, if it's meant to be, it will. Otherwise, I don't anyway see, because logistically, like in your brain, you're constantly doing A plus B or 1 + 1 is 2. So with him, I never saw things happening. So I was like,
there's like the tortoise and the hare story. I'm very much the tortoise. If it's good today, it'll be good tomorrow. It'll be good in a week, and it'll be good in a year. And I always just saw us together, and I saw marriage as more of like a legal formality. Like I saw us as a couple, as a thing. I wasn't going anywhere.
I think but after the second year, like after my trip, and I came home and I had like a lot of conversations with my own parents, and they had met you enough number of times. I think I had to like be that rebellion, tell my parents, I don't think I'm going to get married at all. And I'm coming from that place. So you see this silver lining of John being in the picture. So be happy about it. If he push me anymore, I will break up with him. I will break up with him. So you have to stop pushing me. And then I think they started liking you so much that they were like, okay, we see the potential. He's a nice guy. And they just eased out.
I think from my side, from marrying a foreigner, her family was amazing. I don't feel like there was any hiccups. I wish I could communicate with her father better.
I wish too. I think that's another thing when it comes to like marrying a foreigner, because if you have native speaking parents or grandparents, you will never get to see them, connect with your partner.
And maybe that takes all the pressure off, because he can't like really grill me like some
He'll never grill you. You know my family.
We'll put a picture here. He's got this nice handlebar mustache. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you want me to grow a handlebar mustache?
No, thanks. But I feel like I feel like yeah, you'll miss out on those things that you've seen growing up, that how your in-laws or your father like connected with his in-law. Like that's not going to happen with John. It will happen, but like on a different level. So that's something also that I think somebody should be prepared, that what happens to your native speaking relatives, they will never connect to your partner how you expect them to.
Compared to other foreigners, how do you anticipate I would be different or similar to others?
I think you're different, definitely.
Like a lot different?
I feel like, so I have always had this idea of what Americans are. Americans are these distant people who don't believe in marriages, who don't believe in weddings, who like jump from one relationship to another, don't want to commit. So I think it's like a general stereotype that we have. And that general stereotype was like, it could go anywhere. So you were very different. You were very adjusting to whatever happened with my family, and wherever you were thrown, you were never like, I need my space or I need this. You went in, you were like, oh, there are 100 people staying in your house. Sure, I will find a space for myself. So you were like very different than I think most Americans are, because that's who you are.
Okay.
I think having a relationship with any other American would be very, very different. Also, you come from a Mormon culture, which doesn't work in a lot of aspects, but also works because you guys are very family oriented already. You believe in a lot of things that Indians do. So I think that there was a lot of similarity between us because of those.
Okay. So then the marriage, you decided to get married here in the US.
We did not get, we actually never decided. You just asked me and I was again waiting. And by now,
We had a roca in 2021 of August.
Yes, August 2021.
No, 2020. August of 2020. We got married April 8th, 2021.
Right. So when I was in India and it was COVID and everything and things were like going upside down, at this point I had made complete peace. It has been like 1.5 years and I was like, we'll see what happens. I wasn't ready now to get married and I was like, we'll see what happens. And out of nowhere, because of COVID, I think COVID was one time when everybody started realizing, oh, the noise is gone. Like you're no longer busy. What do you want to do in life? What is the next step? And I think that's what happened with John. And suddenly he became like, oh, we should get married. You're my wife and you're this. And I was like, okay, so finally we are here. But I already felt that we were very committed. Like, we didn't have to go. Like, I was very comfortable in this relationship. But again, he started talking. We figured if I could come. We tried for months. We couldn't make that happen. And then we finally decided on doing the roca on Zoom. And we were like, at least let's do that so that our families are comfortable.
That's like an Indian engagement for you that aren't Indian. And to break a roca would be like having a divorce.
Yeah.
Which I had no thought of, just so you know. But I'm trying to give you guys context.
Yeah. Like, it was a big thing. So
I had no idea what was happening. I think one of the things that was challenging for me is, I think...
How to propose online?
No, not that. Like, I think one of the things that's really hard, especially when I don't have the context of friends, like, I don't know what a roca means. I don't know what, like, the things to anticipate. Like, what do I do? What do I not do?
But we planned it really well. We did. We spoke about it and we said, what could we do? So there were, like, a little bit of vows.
I wish I had a mentor to go back and mentor myself and say, John, do this, do this, do this.
Oh, what would you change?
I think it's really hard because I think in our relationship, sometimes we don't always say what's important to us, or there's the assumption like, hey, I want the other person to know what's important. Mm-hmm. And so in doing that, you miss important things. Yeah. And then it's just rocky. It's like, and you're not trying to
hurt somebody or miss out on important details.
But then you definitely felt hurt at different times.
A lot of times, because I felt like he didn't have the context and I was like, how can he not try?
And as an American, I'm trying to be political. How do I make everyone happy? How do I make everyone happy, which I think a lot of these scenarios you can't necessarily do.
And I think I grew up on a lot of American movies and a lot of Western culture, so I kind of knew more about his culture than he knew about me.
Yeah, India culture, when I went to India for the first time, I'm like, I don't even know how to do laundry. Like, do they even have washing machines? Which is fairly ignorant.
John, very ignorant.
But I just like, when I first went to India, I was about 31, 32, I don't know, something in there. And so like, I had no expectations and I had literally knew no one who'd ever been to the country except traveling, and that you're seeing photos of them on elephants or something like that, right?
Yeah. So very stereotypical idea of what India is. So that was that. And then, of course, after we did the roca and we just wanted our relationship to progress. I think roca was more for us. We've dated for so long. We definitely can't get married because we're in 2 different countries. We don't know when we'll meet. And now we were in like 1 year long distance because we had not seen each other. And I think there was this sense of let's proceed with a relationship. Let's move on to the next step. Like, we don't know how and when can we get married.
She also couldn't fly here for a lot of the time because of the lockdowns.
Absolutely. Or you couldn't come to me, which you were doing very frequently. I don't think me coming here was on the agenda, but you coming here definitely was. And so all of that happened. And I think by January, and then during lockdown, because my other work had stopped, I started working for his company. And we were pretty much into it, hands-on. And then he said, why don't you just come for 2-3 weeks, meet these clients that you've been talking to, and that gives you a reason to see me, my family also, and then we'll get like most of the work chunk done. And I said, okay, maybe I can. But like for even work, we wanted to make sure it was safe for me to fly, like, country wouldn't shut down, nothing of those things that would happen. But even after all of that, I come here and within 3 weeks, my flight starts getting cancelled. And of course, when I came here, so his family is very conservative. Can I say that?
Conservative's fine.
Yeah, so they are. So they're very that. So he wanted to put me in a hotel and I was earlier okay with it. But when I landed, I was like, dude, I don't want to be in a hotel. Like, you have a nice place and I want to stay there. And he was like, but if you want to stay there, we have to get married. And I was like, no, but the plan was that we'll get married. I'll come back on next trip and we'll get married. But for me, the Indian wedding was very important. In fact, my brother was getting married and we were like, should we just do it with him? But of course, we wanted their big day to be their big day. So we were like, okay, come see my family. And he had made this comment earlier also. And we had a big fight about how you should meet my parents 2-3 times before we get married. And I was like, what? Like, where did that even come from? That's a lot of expectations for me to like plan so many international travels before you commit. That for me is was a no-no. But then I said, okay, whatever, like, let's do one trip. We haven't met forever. This is not the time. And now this whole living situation was a problem.
Is this the 5-minute story?
Sorry, but you've been asking me questions.
I know.
About marriage. So anyway, I came here and then like our living situation wasn't great. So we were like embassy in India wasn't open and we were like, the plan was always to do the Indian wedding first. But then we were like, how about we just sign papers here? We take the blessing of the
marriage.
Yeah, courthouse marriage. We take the blessings of the parents and then we go back to India and do like a full-fledged thing. And if his family misses it, it misses it. Because they were also not very keen on flying to India. So we were like, okay, that's great. And we started planning for that courthouse wedding. And as we were planning, I think things just became bigger and bigger. And
I have a habit of... Well, so looking back, I'm not exactly sure what happens, but I have a habit of I promise this, and then I'm like, well, what if I like to present options? So like, what if we do this? And so what if we're being a courthouse wedding went to being like a fairly big event?
It became big. Big from American standard. There was still like only 20 people at the wedding. Very small for me.
But like 50.
There were not 50 people.
Yeah, there were.
John.
Just count on my nieces. That's like
10.
10 right there. Count my parents. Boom. More.
Right. But like a part of me like has a lot of regret that I did not. Had I known that this is what it is going to become, then I would have liked to spend more time on my dress, on everything, like little details. Because for me, it is like this small thing we're doing. And then we're rushing to the big thing, the next big thing that's going to happen in India. So I was just like, yeah, that's fine. And everybody's asking, do you want flowers? Do you want this? Yeah, I was like, yeah, plastic one. Yeah, this dress is fine. I actually finalized my dress in 2 days because I was like, yeah, like...
It wasn't 2 days.
No, my first dress was in 2 days.
Okay.
Right. And then because it kept becoming bigger, and that's why I broke down one day and I was like, oh my God, everything else is much more expensive. My shoes are going to be much more expensive than my dress. And I said, maybe we need to revisit what I'm doing with this dress because now there are more people coming. There's a proper venue. There are all these other things happening. So it just became something that it was not supposed to be.
But was it nice or not nice?
It was very nice. And looks like it will be the only wedding I have.
We will have an Indian wedding.
Who knows?
With elephants. You gotta ride it on,
yeah,
on an
right.
elephant.
Yeah, right. So that was our life story till now.
All right. So for the purpose of the show is what are the challenges of marrying a foreigner?
Okay.
Like what are the top 3 that come to your mind?
After 30 minutes, we are finally coming to the point.
But it's okay, but this is also like an intro podcast.
Okay, intro podcast. I think biggest challenges would be culture, because I think we both have been...
One is culture. What is number 2?
Number 2, the relationship, the core relationship intimate relationship that you're expecting, hoping your partner will have with your family members. That's never going to happen.
Okay. And what's the third one?
I think foreigner also brings in complications about work and where you're going to be and about like a lot of question marks in the future. You marry somebody in your own city, there are a lot of these, things that are going to be never changing, You have to leave your friends at some point. If he plans to come to me or comes to sort of settle down in India, then he'll have to leave friends, connection, network, family, things that he's used to, like restaurants that he's used to go to or food that he's used to eat to. I think those are like certain challenges people who are in international relationship has to go through more than a
But I've already
domestic relationship.
in many ways, I've already given many of those things up.
Who has?
I have.
Like what?
So those weren't issues for me. John Bradshaw's in empire building mode. I'm here to build a castle.
You're not a normal person. A lot of people are.
Yeah, a lot of people are. So one thing
For you,
it made it different for me is I already was on a path.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those things, like giving up restaurants or friends, like, a lot of times you're working crazy hours. So I'd put all those aside.
But that hasn't come yet. Like tomorrow. So you were there in India when you met me, when you were there for work, right? So it was whatever took you to work, you did it. If it meant giving up family and restaurants and friends, you did it. But when you have to do it for a partner, who knows in future?
You had to give up a lot more.
Exactly. Like for now, I have to give up. Like I gave up a lot of those things when I moved from Delhi to Mumbai or from Agra to Delhi. But none of those things mattered to me because I was in empire building mode and I was like, dude, whatever I need to do to go ahead in my career, nothing matters. Yes, I miss those things, but they're not important. But when you do this for a partner, and we both will have to do that at different points of time, I'm expecting.
No, it's always about me first.
No. So, and then at that point in time, you'll have to be doing it for a person, and doing it for somebody is so much harder than doing it for your own dream, for your own job.
We were watching a Netflix show. Do you remember the name of that Netflix show? Which it taught me how one of my assumptions was very selfish. It was that one where they're
The moon and the
Hawaii trip,
suns.
the moon and the suns.
Yeah,
So
it was that something White House, something.
we'll put it here, but I don't know if that's
Okay.
important. But there's this quote from this movie on Netflix, and what I always felt would happen is, as an entrepreneur, the last business went under for unseen issues from my own, and so I'm just like, well, I'm going to build another business, and I always assumed that it would get bigger and bigger and bigger, and as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, it would have this gravitational force where Gunjan would just kind of suck into my life. And so a lot of the timing came in my mind was at a certain point, Gunjan will want to or choose. And then when I watched the show, it talked about, and you said it better. It's like, do you want to be the center of someone else's universe or do you want to be your own universe or something like that, right? What was the quote?
Something like that. Something on very similar levels.
And then I'm like, that's a very, very different way to look at it.
Yeah, I don't want to be a moon in your universe. I want
Exactly.
to have my own universe. Where I am the center, where I'm the sun, and I have my own moons revolving around me or planets revolving around me. So, sometimes in relationships you have to do that, and I think that will be even more challenging when you're doing it in an international relationship or a foreigner or with a foreigner.
I mean, I think with marrying a lot of foreigners, let's just say you both have a career, someone at some point probably is going to have to cave, and they'll lose their connections. They're going to lose their career path, their career trajectory. So I think that's definitely a huge part for someone who's career oriented, and you are and were definitely career oriented.
Very. They say never, and I think I always said never. I said I will never leave Mumbai. I will never leave my career for a man. I will never ever move to America. And all of those things have happened ironically, and I feel like what you resist is what you attract. It's very true.
I think for me, I always assumed she would just kind of like follow me around like a puppy dog. Maybe that's not a good way to put it.
That is so disrespectful.
But I just figured I would be going to the U.S., be going to India.
You thought I'll be one of those vibes, just so
no. You're like, there's a lot more that like is in my mind.
What is this puppy dog analogy?
But I just figured you would just become part of like this like rolling snowball.
Okay, the way you said it is not nice. I'm going to remember it now.
Okay.
It hurts.
I don't want it to hurt.
I'm kidding.
But I don't.
Okay,
I lost it, but it's gone. But
Fine.
there's.
Do you think this is a long enough episode and we should just
should let it. It should be what it is.
It is 20-30 minutes already.
It could be at 2 hours.
Not for YouTube.
People want drama. People want stories.
We don't have drama in our life.
Everyone has drama.
Ooh, what is our drama? Tell us.
You gave up your career.
That's our drama?
You are in a spot where we don't know when we're going to be able to see family again.
I mean, the reality of international relationship is, of course, we're doing this YouTube video and podcast, but the reality is there are more heartbreaking days that I've seen in the last year than I've seen happy days. I have literally just tried to stay above ground and not felt like I've drowned.
It's hard to figure out how to fit in. So like being a foreigner, now let's go to the next phase.
Yeah.
You've married a foreigner, you're now here.
Yeah, no.
I think not having like the friends, like a social connection.
Oh, it's so hard. I think I'm like starting from ground zero, and I feel like I'm still so much better because I think
And it's hard in your 30s or 20s.
it's-
In your 20s.
definitely 30s. I felt like because I've already done 2 transitions in my life, one from Agra to Delhi, which is from a smaller city to like the capital of the country, and then from New Delhi to Mumbai, which is like moving from LA to New York. So when I did that, I think I had to learn those things, but now I have to like really do those things because these are people that I don't connect with. And again, you have to realize I'm not in America. I'm not just in America, I'm in Utah. And that changes a lot of things. A lot of people here bond over or connect over church, or they connect over, I can't even ask somebody, do you want to meet me for coffee? Like, that is such a huge deal.
Or even going somewhere with, at that point, she didn't have a driver's license. She didn't have a car.
That's true too.
And there's no rickshaws.
Yeah, there's no Ubers. Like, there are Ubers
and if
here,
you take
but
an Uber,
it's so much expensive.
To go 20 minutes away will cost about $40 US dollars.
Right. And also in India, if
which
you
is
want
very
to...
crippling because you're like $40 US dollars.
Exactly. And if you want to get accustomed to a place, like one of the very easy things Indians do is just walk around the block. There are like so many shops, so many people, neighbors. You like just meet so many people on the way, even when you're like, going about your business. But here, it is so hard to meet people. Even if you like walk out, you will never see your neighbor. You would never know who is out there. You can not walk to anything. So unless you're in your car, isolated, going to a certain destination, which you exactly know why you're going there, which I wouldn't know of. What are the coffee shops to go to? Where do I go sit and do what? Then it becomes even more difficult because you're not aimlessly going out in US, I feel like. Unless you have like your favorite places where you do that.
I think you're aimlessly sometimes when you're with friends and you follow the leader.
That's true. But then again, so making friends was hard. There was a lot of people. The area that we live in is very white. I did not see diversity for the longest time, and people were like just very happy in their own inner circle, and everybody has kids here. And I think that is also very different as a combination of problems at Utah. Everybody gets married so early. Everybody has tons of kids, family responsibilities and careers. So there is just no time. In Mumbai or other cities, there are still like a lot of single couples. Single couples, I mean like...
Swingers.
No. But I mean like no kids couples who are looking for friendships, who want to like do things. But I think we were just one of those couples, nobody wanted to do anything with us. And you don't have friends. So that is another thing. He doesn't have personal circle.
I have friends, but like...
You have network.
You
have professional network. And every time I would go meet people, and we met a lot of people, not to say that we did not.
And for me, work is also fun. So a lot of it, like,
exactly.
Unlike most people, they're like, I've got my job, and then I've got my college. It's like, I've got some friends from high school who still probably have like gaming parties for the last 30 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's just never been me.
Exactly. So I did not even have my husband's network of friends to fall back on. He had a professional network. They all were very nice and very kind. We did like multiple activities, multiple dinners, but they were always client or work partner dinners and
but I look
outings.
at all my clients as friends.
You do, but like for me, I'm also Indian. Right? That's also like a very Indian thing. We have a very clear demarcation how I...
Is someone a friend or a client? Like...
Exactly. And I think our friend circle is our friend circle. And maybe because you're also an entrepreneur, things are different. Your friends, your network is different than what a regular employee or a person in the professional world treats their friends as. So that was also challenging for us.
Okay. I think for people who are watching this, Gunjan, what feedback would you give them if you could mentor them, if someone's looking to do this themselves? What are things to avoid? What would you do differently? Things to mentor? And that'd probably be my last question for this podcast.
Okay. So one, foreigner or no foreigner, I feel like, but more so with a foreigner, when you go not expecting a lot of things in the relationship is when the relationship gets this space to become something that your physical mind could not even expect it to be. And I feel like our relationship was a big example. I had not seen international relationships. I had not seen Americans being the way he was. So I kept my judgment aside and I created room for this relationship to just go wherever and like no expectations. So it was easy for us to keep saying, we'll see what happens next. We'll see what happens next. Will he come back? Will he talk this through? Will he not? So that, and two, I think a relationship is a good relationship when both people are growing. And if the other person, and he was also very receptive about every feedback I gave him. If I said, hey, this does not work for me, He was like, okay, let me think about it. Let me do something. And he would come back with corrective measures, like something would have changed by then. So if you are not in a relationship with a person like that, it doesn't make sense. But all the more when it's a foreigner, because there's so much stacked against you. If you want to be with a foreigner, please be sure financially you have to be in a better situation. Otherwise, one or the other person has to take the slack for the other person while they're not. Like, I'm still waiting for my work permit. Thankfully, I do work for you. But
For us?
For us, we work for our company now. But if that's not the case, I can't even begin to imagine how difficult can it be. Apart from that, I would say, look at the legalities. I felt like I just went into the whole immigration thing. Just like, I think this is the first time I thought about it was when we were in it. And I didn't know how many complications are there. In fact, till yesterday, I'm finding out how many complications are there. I was still maybe in a bubble of, oh yeah, like it will take a year or two, but I can travel. No, I can't. And I'm just figuring out all of those things. So I would say, do know everything. And America is definitely like a much challenging country to move to or have a relationship with somebody. Even if we would have gotten married in India and would have kept our long distance marriage that we were actually planning on, visa, just find out like what the country's visa status is like. Because even if we would have gotten married in India, even if I would have kept my career in India, which was exactly the plan, I was on my way to have this long distance marriage because I was like, dude, I cannot give up Mumbai. I cannot give up my career. Now, knowing what I know about the rules, we would have never been able to do. They would have never allowed me to come back in because according to them, I should have a spouse visa.
No.
What?
You didn't need a spouse visa.
No, I should have spouse visa even if I'm coming to travel to see you, because their assumption is that I will stay back. They haven't seen
but that's
cases.
not the law. That's not the law.
Their assumption is that I will not leave the
I
country.
think the ones I've talked with,
They would actually want to be just safe. I feel like that's a safeguard mechanism. They don't want to understand what is the case with you. Even if I, with the full intent in my heart, would have said, dude, my career is back in India, which was the case even when I came in January, February. I came for work. I just, not even my wildest dreams. I came with 5 black t-shirts. We went to Hawaii for our honeymoon, and I was like a part of me was crying because I was like, how unprepared can somebody be for their own wedding? Like, I don't have anything colorful. I don't have anything amazing. Like, this is what I've thought about all my life. And on my wedding day, I'm wearing white, not the prettiest, amazing white dress, but something that I could just get at that point, and I don't have something that I can wear post-wedding. Like, all of those things were like shattered and keep getting shattered. But even when I was not planning to, I stayed back. So I'm not saying that their concerns are invalid, because relationships, people are constantly making decisions, and maybe those decisions are not best for the country, but you can be in a big soup if you're not thinking this through. Mm-hmm. So that's it about from today's episode. Please tell us if you liked it. What else would you like to know? We will get into the intricacies of this relationship as we go ahead. I don't know, why did I use that accent?
That's great. And go to goofwoman.com/subscribe, and it will have all the channels, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Spotify. All of the links will be there.
Go you.
Go little rock star.
That's me.